Well, howdy. It's the 11th of June. This is Journal 76, which means that we are at T+70, which means that there are 30 days left um, in my 100. Uh, but that doesn't mean recovery will still last uh, another 265 days, or that I won't be monitored for a year subsequently as well, which is fine. I'll take it. It works for me. Um, and I think that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. I've been kind of thinking about it all day, and I almost wrote something down, um, which would probably be antithetical to everything that started this blog in the first place. So bear with me, because it's probably going to be something James Joyce would be proud of as far as stream of consciousness goes. I'm going to try and talk the subject matter of the last few blog posts back to or tie it to recovery, my recovery particularly, but it probably applies to any recovery or anything like that, for whatever that's worth. So you start looking at your current reality, and for me, my current reality was being diagnosed with a chronic, untreatable, incurable disease, terminal disease, 5.5 years ago approximately. And what you go through when that happens, and the fact that it changes you in many different ways, and it changes you instantly and indelibly. So it changes your current reality, and you start looking at a theoretical future because you have no idea what's coming. And your theoretical future is not terribly pleasant to think about or to look at, for a number of different reasons, and not the least of which is morbidity and survival. And you start thinking to yourself, what can I do about this? What can I do to change this? How do I change my current reality? Well, I mean, the way I did it was to look at my current reality and establish a vision of the future with me alive, well, and healthy. That sounds great. I mean, anybody can do that, right? The question is, how do you move from your theoretical future to, especially if it's negative, to a current reality that's based upon your vision and takes you closer to being well, to being recovered. And we talked about all kinds of different tools that can be used to do that. I mean, certainly you could take the lessons learned in Flight of the Buffalo and say, you have to define what that future looks like. That future looks like me being placed in the middle of my family, with my wife, with my daughter, with my son, with their partners, my son-in-law and daughter-in-law, who are more like children than they are not, and our grandchildren, who light me up like a match on a dark summer night, or winter's night, really. So you define what that looks like. You define what success looks like. You figure out what the obstacles are. Well, the obstacles are really impossible in many cases for so many different people. But realistically, I think that a positive attitude and meditation and mindfulness and diet and exercise all play an important role in all of this. And so you define what the obstacles are as well as what success is. Obviously obstacles, the greatest obstacle is the disease, the fact that your bone marrow doesn't produce any red blood cells, or white blood cells for that matter, or platelets or everything else. And you figure out which obstacles you can control and which obstacles you can't, not knowing how the balance is going to work and whether it's going to work for you or against you. But you believe very positively, with a perfect faith that you can make it through this, that you're going to. Other people have. The odds are not terrific, as 65-35, but if 65 people made it through, and that's a vast majority. It's almost twice as many. Um, there's no reason why you can't be included among that number, especially if you take an active role in your own recovery, which I would advise everybody to do. It's important. It's important that you be there and that all of these things that are happening are not just done to you, that they're done with you participating. Um, you figure out who owns those obstacles, and then you figure out what you can do to remove them. And on recognizing, of course, that only you can remove your own obstacles, and you can't remove someone else's obstacles. And one of the things that you tried to do, or at least I tried to do, is you tried to eliminate all of the words that are tentative, like could, or should, or may, or might, because they allow for the possibility of failure. And that's something that you really don't want to consider, and it's something you don't want to have to deal with. So how do you break through? For me, it was a matter of experimentation to a large degree. To a large degree, it was building pictures, building images in my conscious mind about what success would be like, sort of eliminating or diminishing at least the horrible effects of the chemo, and keeping in a very clear vision the rewards of a future. I mean, a future that lasted more than 2 or 3 years. And you do it by experimenting. You do it by you do it by understanding where you are, who you are, recognizing that you're empowered to do better than anyone thinks you could or should. All of those things come into play. And they did for me, and they did for me in a very, very personal way. I started to really dig into all the people that I would meet in 1B, which is the waiting area for your doctor's visit after you've had your blood drawn at the City of Hope. And inevitably, somebody who's got mask on and gloves on, sitting there waiting to see a doctor is more than likely going to be a patient that's gone through a transplant or is about to go through a transplant in his recovery. And you try to go ahead and accumulate as many success stories as you can, recognizing once again that if somebody's done it, it's not impossible. And there's no reason why you can't do it if they did it. They're not much stronger than you physically. They're not much more strong. They're not that much stronger than you are emotionally or physically. Once I recognized that I was fighting this disease, I've never been as diligent about working out as I was. It was different kind of working out, recognizing that ever so slightly my strength was failing over time because I was losing area to produce red blood cells. But I did go to the gym. I did go to Tai Chi. I did meditation. I did a lot of different things to try and keep myself in the right frame of mind as much as I could for as long as I could. Because that future, that vision that I so desperately wanted to be a part of was too important to me for it to evaporate, for it to float away on the wind. There were too many places to go, too many things to do, too many graduations, even from preschool, to attend and to hang out, long enough to be a pain in the ass for my kids, I guess. Maybe that's part of it too. Although I could never see myself doing that. But I think that the important thing here is to take all the tools that would help make you successful in life and modify them and rearrange them so that you can find ways to make them um, applicable in your recovery, so that you can be successful in recovering your life, in redeeming it, and in even, and that's even recognizing that it's not going to be the same as it was no matter what you do. There are going to be limitations that you can't really understand or think about right now. Um, but realistically, none of that matters if you're still here. And none of it matters if you're not. If you're still here, every day you get to wake up in the morning and chart your own future. Every day you get to look into to that dark abyss of the future and recognize that you can paint yourself into a picture of a successful, vibrant, vital, active future. And when things don't break your way, and when you're faced with a challenge that seems to be insurmountable, you can certainly do whatever you can to make that time and that you have better in every way. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I invite you to go ahead and participate in any way that you like. You know where to find me. I'm probably still the easiest shop owner in the country to find, even though I no longer have a shop. So let me know what you think. Until then, stay well and take care. Bye-bye.